Hi, I am Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi everyone, today we are talking about mentorship. Mentorship is a period where one receives guidance from a mentor. I thought about my experience with mentorship, and it wasn't until a mentor that I had had for a very long time actually passed that I realized how much I loved that relationship, and I didn't always know what it was. But it was somebody to actually guide me. And what that looked like for me is younger years when I was in my 20s and I was very ambitious and knew what I wanted to do. He came into my life in my first job and he guided me. He did. At the time, I wanted to be a professional golfer. And this was back in the early 90s. And he's like, Allie, there is not any money in women's golf. And there wasn't back then. And so he talked me out of it. And I told him what I wanted to do as far as hospitality. And I then navigated into country club management, which had that golf piece. So I could still live a bit of that I loved so much back then. And then throughout the years, as I went to college, I'd come back in the summer and I'd work with him on the golf course. And then I graduated and I went to Branson, Missouri. And this gentleman wanted to sell the food and beverage portion of the golf. It was like a country club. And he helped me look at that and told me it was not worth it and don't you dare do it. And oh boy, thank gosh I did not. Branson was great for 8 months, but it was definitely time for me to get back to the West Coast. So then when I went back, I worked with him again. And he was always somebody in my life that provided that guidance. Now, when I was down in San Francisco managing restaurants, I did have a mentor that hired me, and he was amazing. He was really just an amazing guy. And I was grateful for him and the guidance he gave me. But Terry Anderson was always my mentor, literally until a few years when he passed. And we would get together, we would talk about business. And as I was growing my second business at the time, most recently when he passed. And then I did have Sue Jones, who is HR for VR. At a certain point, I was like, I need a mentor. Like, I'm going into being an independent contractor, and she was familiar with the industry. She was familiar with me, and I needed her guidance. She continues to be my mentor, specifically for the vacation rental industry and consulting. Because there's questions that come up, and there were questions that Terry Anderson couldn't answer because he always worked for a company. And so he wasn't an independent contractor. And Sue has been amazing for that. So then when Terry passed, I literally reached out to a woman who I have known for, 20 plus years. We had worked together in events when I had an event planning business. And I told her, I said, I need a mentor. And men mentor have been great for me as well. But at that time, I was really wanting a female mentor. And she was able to do that. She helped me navigate the divorce I was going through at the time, as well as my business and talking about marketing, because she also is an owner of a business in our community, and just the ebbs and flows that we experience in entrepreneurship. So mentorship has always really been a thing for me, whether I knew it or not early on. And so if you were younger and you were listening to this, I highly encourage that you bring in mentorship into your world in some form. I've actually been watching Suits. on Netflix, and it is all about this gentleman that took in a mentor, and it's in the law field. But I just watched a episode last night, and it was very interesting because season 1, I want to say episode 11, and he had a situation come up, an ethical situation come up with his mentor, and now he's mentoring somebody, and what happened and how he navigated that. And so it was very interesting to see his loyalty with mentorship and what that looked like for him. So if you're looking for a series to watch, I do recommend Suits. It's very interesting. I found an article in Forbes, and it talks about how mentoring matters and the 3 essential elements of success. So they talk about how studies show that good mentoring can lead to a greater career success, including promotions, raises, increased opportunities. Organizations that embrace mentoring are rewarded with higher levels of employee engagement. And I have watched this happen with employees when they did have a mentor and what that looked like. Also, retention, knowledge sharing. In fact, mentoring has proven so beneficial that 71% of Fortune 500 companies offer mentoring programs to their employees. Now, when I was interviewing Michelle and we were talking about mentoring, I asked her, I said, do you offer something to help companies bring in mentorship? And it's something I have talked with companies about doing and the importance of it. So while the statistics are encouraging, it's important to remember that mentoring is not a magic wand. It will not automatically create success. The truth is that effective mentoring takes effort, and creating successful mentoring relationships requires specific skills, sensibilities, and structure for both the mentor and the mentee. Success happens when both parties take responsibilities for making it work. Success happens when best practices are in place for the 3 key ingredients, and that is the mentor, the mentee, and the relationship. So what makes a good mentor? Because not everybody is skilled to be a mentor. So that's something to take into consideration when you look at your organization and you want to develop a mentoring program. A good mentor needs to be more than just a successful individual. A good mentor must have the disposition and desire to develop other people. It requires a willingness to reflect on and share one's own experiences, including one's failures. Great mentors must be able to both talk the talk and walk the walk. And that's one thing that I watched in this episode of Suits, and talking about sharing their failures, because the mentee had called out the mentor and he's like, do you encourage hiding things? Because he wasn't privy to what was going on currently with the other mentor's mentor. And the mentor shared what was happening and how he was really in an ethical position and he was struggling. So, qualities to look for in a mentor: a desire to develop and help others. A good mentor is sincerely interested in helping someone else without any official reward. Good mentors do it because they genuinely want to see someone else succeed. I took on an intern and really mentored the intern throughout COVID. And I said, I'm not in a place I can pay you. I'm not bringing in good enough income, but I'm happy to show you everything I know. And taught this person how to really look at slide decks, how to edit podcasts, and a lot of different skills. More than anything, just because I enjoy developing people. And at that time, I wasn't having a lot of that during COVID, and it's something that I felt I could offer. And she was happy to have that and learn. So the ability and availability to commit real time and energy to the relationship. Good intentions aren't enough. Mentoring takes time. And we would schedule a certain amount of time every week that we would meet. And I would show her how to do something, but we would also talk about what was happening and how she was doing. Now, current and relevant industry or organizational knowledge, expertise, and/or skills, that's important. The best mentors have deep knowledge in an area that the mentee wishes to develop. And she loved leadership. So that made it really easy. And she also was studying psychology. And I do bring in a piece of psychology into what I do in my coaching. So a willingness to share failures and personal experiences. Mentors need to share both their how I did it right and their how I did it wrong stories. Both experiences provide valuable opportunities for learning. This is so true. Now, one of the things that has become more challenging, I'm noticing, is the different generations and how it was when I was growing up in the work environment versus how it is now and what's happening. So my failures look a little bit different than a younger generation and their failures now. A growth mindset and learning attitude, the best teachers have always been and always will be those who remain curious learners themselves. Would you rather be advised by someone whose mind is shut because he knows it all, or by someone whose mind is open because she's always looking to deepen her knowledge? I go back to, is it skill or is it will? Who Sue Jones brought that up for me, and I always reference it because I can mentor a mentee that has will, but if there's not any will, it's not going to happen. And then skill in developing others. This includes the very real skills of active listening, asking powerful, open-ended questions, self-reflection, providing feedback, and being open to share stories that include personal anecdotes, case examples, and honest insight. So what makes a good mentee? Just as there are specific characteristics of a successful mentor, there are attributes and sensibilities that make for a good mentee. This is important because mentees must remember that mentors are doing this from the goodness of their heart. So being a good mentee is the best way to ensure the relationship enjoys a healthy, purposeful existence. So mentees need to be committed to expanding their capabilities and focus on achieving professional results. Clear about their career goals, needs, and wants. Mentoring isn't therapy where one just rambles aimlessly. Mentees are responsible for creating the mentoring agenda, so they must be clear about what they hope to get from the mentoring. And that was one thing, is when we started the internship, I outlined all of the things that I could help and share with her and what she wanted to learn and what was important to her. Now, willing to ask for help, show vulnerability, explore different paths and perspectives. Mentees must be open and receptive to learning and trying new ideas. No mentor wants to advise someone who isn't open to learning. As well as able to seek and accept feedback, even the constructive kind, and act upon it. Ooh, I don't know if everybody likes difficult conversations. I talk about it, but it's not something I enjoy all the time. And I have had to give constructive feedback. Absolutely. So being personally responsible and accountable, mentors want to see movement and growth. If you say you're going to do something, then you better do it. Sitting on the sidelines in a mentoring relationship's not going to work. And that's where our relationship with work came to a halt, was when she took on way more than she could handle. And I couldn't hold her accountable because I knew it wasn't possible to hold her accountable for everything that she had taken on. So I said, I think we need to end our working relationship at this point because I'm not able to hold you accountable and your workload is more than I believe you can handle. And I need to pay attention to what I need for my work now, because it shifted into a paid position at a certain point. Also, ready, willing, and able to meet on a regular basis. Relationships take time to develop a mentee. You must also be committed to upholding their end of the bargain. So the mentoring relationship. The mentor relationship must be managed and nurtured. It's a joint venture that requires both parties to actively attend to its care and feeding. The chances of creating and sustaining a successful mentoring relationship are enhanced by adopting a few simple best practices. Design the alliance. Take the time, discuss the structure of the relationship. Both parties need to have a shared understanding of the relationship process. This means discussing and articulating things. And so what I did is I created a spreadsheet of all of the different areas we would cover during our time together, and then dates of when we were going to cover each topic. And that's basically what they allude to. And then confidentiality. What's shareable and what isn't? It's very important. And then focus. What are the parameters of the mentoring? What's in it and out of bounds? Feedback. What are the expectations around giving and receiving feedback? Goals and accountability. What would each party want from the experience? How does the mentee want the mentor to hold her accountable? How does the mentor want the mentee to hold her accountable? So I actually was involved in a discussion with two people, one a business owner, and the other was a woman that was going to be working for the business owner. And I sat in and kind of coached them through the process. And one of my questions was, how is she going to hold you accountable for what she needs? And looking at that, I don't know if we always talk about that accountability piece, but it is so key in everything that we do in work, really. So get to know each other. A mentoring relationship is like any other relationship. It takes time to develop. And like other relationships, it'll grow faster and stronger if both parties take the time to get to know each other as people. I definitely did that. Like we did that above and beyond because it was COVID as well. And I went through a lot during COVID. And so she was a part of that. And sometimes I'd have to cancel and say, I'm really sorry this came up and this is all I can give today. So can we meet another day? And she was totally understanding. And then just kind of talking with her about what she was going through. But resist the temptation to dive headfirst into career problem solving and advising. Build trust by learning about each other first. Set the agenda. Both parties need to be clear about the purpose and focus, right? Like we talked about. Reflect and evaluate. Every meeting, one or both of the parties should ask, how's it going for you? What's been helpful? What hasn't? What could I do differently to make this more rewarding? Now, she was doing online school, so it was really helpful for her. Like she would even send me some information on projects she was doing and ask for input. And then the closeout. If you're part of a formal mentoring relationship or have negotiated a specific number of mentoring meetings, take the time to close out. This is when each party should reflect and appreciate. What was most rewarding? What did you find the most valuable? What are you most grateful for? Mentees and mentors should clearly articulate their appreciation for the other. Be specific about what you learned and gained from the experience. Mentoring is a great opportunity to deliver a rewarding and potentially life-changing experience for both the mentor and the mentee. It's one of the most important things a person can do to enhance their career and professional life. It takes time and commitment, but it is well worth the effort. Whether you're the mentor or the mentee, it's a win-win for your career. I highly recommend having some type of mentorship program in your organization, whatever it looks like. I just think that it is extremely important to have. And as the data shows, it creates more of a bond, a feeling of belonging with employees, and it will have them stay with your company longer because they feel that connection. So I leave with you a quote by Steven Spielberg. The delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them the opportunity to create themselves. Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.